Right, so just finished making the video of a no name rim cylinder, which turned out to be all standard pins, so that was slightly disappointing, but nonetheless, still to edit and also it might not make a cut. If it doesn't, well, but if it does, sure, I'll show you it. But anyway, the reason I'm doing this is because I have a blank and I'm going to show you how to make a key. So this is the cylinder here, and I've got the pins in it, as you can see, and you can only see 4 because the back one is pretty much I think it's referred to as zero cut. I'm not quite sure, but it's practically, there's nothing there that needs taken off. It's already at the height it needs to be. So I'm going to put the key in the vise, and in fact I'll show you first what you need. So you need your lock, you need the correct blank for it, a vise to hold the key, and then what I tend to use are these wee needle files. I got these out of Homebase, and the two sizes or shapes that I use is, let's see if I can just focus this, give you a second. There you go. Well, it's the round file, and then this one, which is like, oh boys, the focusness is terrible. Just use that to try to focus it. There we go, that's better. So there's this shape as well, which is like half round, I suppose. It's a semicircle on one side, flat on the other side, and I use that mainly for taking the peaks off, and then I use the round for cutting the channels for each of the pins. So yes, first piece of advice is test the blank with the pins. I've made this mistake many times myself, where I've put it in, marked all the pins, and I've made a wee groove to show where each pin is, and then find out that some of them don't even need cut. So I'm not even going to touch pin 5 there. So as far as I'm concerned, it's only 4 I'm going to have to make on this. So bring the vise in, take that out, and I'll put the key in the vise. So just tighten that up quite nicely, and then put it in level, I should also point out. Yes, so the first thing to do, well, the first thing I do is take a big file. I'm only using this for speed, but you could use one of the other two that I just showed you, and that is to just roughen the top of it up ever so slightly, and that is so that you can mark it. So I tend to mark it with a pencil, and then that roughness takes off the wee coating, takes the coating off the top of the blank, and lets you apply a layer of the graphite off the pencil. Then if we take the blank, dumping the pins out here, just remembering to keep them in order. Put the blank in, and what I use is one of these. I think it's a knife pick, I believe. Got this from Without a Key, but it's just the sharp hard point on it. I put it in, put it right down the middle, and I use that to mark the tops of each of the center line of each of the pin chambers. So just due to the angle here, I'm going to pause the camera. I'll come back once I've got that done, and I'll show you. And we're back. So all I did was use this Sharpie. I went over the top of it, just because the darker black ink, went over them again, took it out, and then scratched it to highlight it. So anyway, you can see that's how they all line up there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't do the last one like I'd said previously because, well, there wasn't really much pointed in it, and I think you can see, yeah, you can probably see there actually better, just the way that light is. Now I've got them slightly off center, they're all slightly to the right, see, one, I push this up, this just off to the right of this chamber, just to the right here, a bit more central and center. So these last two are fine. These two, I'm going to cut the wee groove just on the left hand side of each of those marks, and that should center that up. So just straighten this back out, trying to get level. Put my glasses back on because I took them off just because I was working in close there to see what I was doing. So I'll do the first mark, and then I'll pause the video again and go on. So lining this up with lining this here round file up with a mark, and like I stated previously, slightly off to the left. Tend to use just a very, very, very small stroke because you really want to make sure you accurately get this, and just enough to start cutting that groove. Don't be afraid to use your fingers on the left hand side here for, you know, keeping the file in the same place, but obviously try to move your finger with it because you don't want to file your finger. So at the minute I'm just doing minimal, and that is because we're going to put the chamber, or keep calling it chamber, going to put the core back over, and we're going to check that each of those is in the correct position. Like I said, this is the most crucial part of doing a key, is to make sure that when you cut it, each of those cuts is going straight down in line with the chambers. So push the core up against bottom of the key there, and as you can see, the grooves in the center of each of those four, and those are the only four we're going to do. So now that we know that, straighten it back up, and the next tip is to take a marker and mark the vertical lines down the key. And what this does is, as you're cutting, if you start to veer off to one side, you can see that on the side of the key, so you know to come back in the middle and correct it. So I'll come back and I forgot that. Right, so as you can see, I've marked the side of the key, again using the Sharpie pencil. In fact, earlier on what I said about the pencil, you know, you could probably avoid that step altogether and marking it, just use a Sharpie instead, because it just shows up so much clearer. Anyway, so got those marked, you know which lines to follow. Put the first pin in and push this to the back, and you can see there, in fact, you can see there's quite a large amount to be filed down for that first slot. So we'll go ahead, we'll use a round file, work our way down and try and get it. I normally stop just before it comes level with the before it comes level with the chamber. So I'll start cutting this here and show you what to do next. Right, so I'll file the key down. It's not quite there yet on that first cut, but it is getting quite close. And I just want to make you aware of another thing that I discovered whilst doing this. So as you can see there, it's sticking up, but it's not sticking up by very much, but nonetheless still sticks up. Now here's the issue. So you take the core, you can go up or down. See that moves up and down, and that in turn, you know, changes the height of where the pin's at, makes the pin either closer to being cut, or, you know, you think you've much more to go. So what I would suggest here is to take the core and put the core on and see how that interacts with it, because although on this core it seems to be quite forgiving, in fact it's nearly it's almost at the point of allowing that pin to go in, but on the higher tolerance locks, so again this is no name, so you know, if you're using a more like a zone, like one of these locks, if you use something like that, the tolerances are much tighter, So whenever you put this on, you could find that what you've actually done is you went too far with your cut. So because the cylinder hangs down with gravity and doesn't come up, sometimes the cylinder comes on and it pushes on the bottom of the key and lifts it up, and then your driver pins are sticking into these chambers and the key won't work. That has happened to me before. So like I say, test it with your cylinder once you're getting close. And oh, that's the springs just falling out there, so I'll just knock the rest of them out. Once you're getting close, and this will give you a good idea as to whereabouts on that up and down movement, that you're going to need to be. So